Hello. Before I begin, I would like to take the time to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land in which this presentation is delivered. I pay my deepest respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also want to acknowledge any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, and First Nations people present here today and extend my gratitude to their knowledge systems they have preserved and shared over countless generations. As an Awabakal woman and academic, I feel deeply privileged to work on my own ancestral country. This work is not just a professional responsibility, but a deeply personal journey of connecting with my cultural heritage and passing that understanding on to future generations of architects. In today's presentation, I reflect on conversations I've had with my sessional staff, who are often white settler architects. Together, we have navigated the complexities of embedding Indigenous knowledge into architectural education, a space that is historically entrenched in Western practices. We are here to share some of the lessons, outcomes, and challenges of this work, focusing on the changes we've implemented in the Architecture Studio 1 course at the University of Newcastle. We hope this presentation will shed some light on the transformative potential of decolonising practices in education and inspire further conversations about how we can all contribute to this important work. So Architecture Studio 1 is the foundational course at the School of Architecture and Built Environment, or SABI as we refer to it, at the University of Newcastle in Australia. For many students, it is their first exposure to architectural design and its ethical, social, and environmental responsibilities. Recognising this unique opportunity, we set out to embed Indigenous knowledge systems into this course, introducing students to the concept of designing with country. Our goal is to show students that architecture is not just about building structures. It's about fostering relationships with land, culture, and communities. This approach aligns closely with SABI's Care for Country roadmap and reflects the university's broader commitment to Indigenous higher education. However, as you will hear, this work requires a delicate balance between institutional frameworks, cultural responsibilities, and the diverse perspectives of both educators and students. Let me explain how we've approached this task in Indigenising Architecture Studio 1. This course introduces students to foundational design principles, and we've infused these principles with Indigenous perspectives by having projects derived from local Aboriginal communities and led by these communities. These projects allow the development of real-world problem solving with design practices grounded in respect for country and community. Teaching students about cultural protocols, respect, and reciprocity. Students learn about the importance of ethical engagement, including asking permission, deep listening, and giving back to communities they work with. We also teach them about embedding Indigenous knowledge systems. We present design as a relational practice, one that acknowledges the interconnectedness of land, culture, and history. What makes this approach unique is my personal connection to the country on which we teach. Being able to draw on my own lived experiences as a Awabakal woman and architect who's worked in this country extensively allows me to bring my cultural authenticity to the curriculum, creating a learning environment where Indigenous perspectives are not tokenised but integral to the course. My sessional colleagues also play a vital role, reflecting on their position as settler architects, challenging students to think critically about privilege and power dynamics in design. Together, we strive to model collaborative approaches to decolonise education. The impact of this work has been profound. Let me share some of the key positive aspects that we've discovered while delivering this decolonised approach. Firstly, an enhanced cultural awareness. Students are beginning to see design as a relational practice. For many, this is their first opportunity to understand the deep connections between land, culture, and history as seen through Indigenous perspectives, and apply this to the built environment. Building cultural competency and inclusion. By introducing these concepts early in their education, students are learning to approach design with thoughtfulness and inclusivity. Non-Indigenous students gain a greater awareness of cultural diversity, while Indigenous students feel validated and represented in their educational journey. Sustainability in practice. Sustainability is no longer just an environmental checkbox for our students. By incorporating care for country principles, they are learning to view sustainability holistically, considering cultural, ecological, and social dimensions in their designs. Additionally to these more obvious positive outcomes, we also encourage students to build reciprocal relationships. Our partnerships with local Indigenous communities have been invaluable. Elders and cultural practitioners contribute their knowledge to the course, enriching the learning experience while teaching students the importance of reciprocity and respect. Also, we have been grateful to receive peer recognition, both within our institution, within Australia, and through our inclusion in this conference. The Indigenisation of Architecture Studio One has transformed design education in our institution, empowering students from diverse backgrounds to contribute unique perspectives. Embedding Indigenous principles encourages ethical engagement with land and community, equipping our future architects to navigate cultural diversity with respect and responsibility. These outcomes demonstrate the transformative power of embedding Indigenous principles in architectural education. By the end of the course, many students express a renewed understanding of design as a tool for reconciliation and cultural respect. But, of course, this work is not without its challenges. Decolonising practices within a Western educational framework requires navigating several complex issues. Firstly, institutional constraints. Universities often operate within rigid frameworks that prioritise linear, quantitative approaches to learning. Indigenous knowledge systems, on the other hand, are relational and holistic. Balancing these two paradigms requires constant negotiation, especially when cultural authenticity is at stake. Secondly, the burden on Indigenous communities. Consultation with elders and community members is essential for cultural authenticity, but it can place significant demands on these groups. To address this, we've developed digital resources that allow us to share their insights without requiring repeated in-person engagements. It should also be noted that the cultural burden placed on academic staff of Indigenous background is also high. Balancing positionalities. Our collaboration as an Aboriginal academic and with my settler sessional staff academics adds depth to the course, but also requires constant reflection on power dynamics and privilege. For example, we regularly evaluate how our own biases might influence the curriculum and we make adjustments accordingly. There is an open dialogue between myself as the Indigenous course coordinator and lead and my sessional staff who deliver the tutorial activities in class. Finally, one of the hardest challenges to, I guess, discuss is that there is sometimes student resistance. Not all students are immediately receptive to these perspectives. Some struggle to reconcile Indigenous approaches with traditional design paradigms. Addressing this requires patience, empathy, and fostering open dialogue to create a safe space for learning. And our small tutorial sizes, led by our dedicated sessional staff, really help in creating these safe spaces for these conversations to happen. Integrating Indigenous perspectives into Architectural Design Studio presents challenges, including navigating institutional constraints, addressing community consultation burdens, and overcoming student resistance. However, introducing these concepts early in students' education fosters critical thinking and reflection, equipping them to engage thoughtfully with diverse cultural contexts. Despite these challenges, we believe the benefits far outweigh the difficulties. Early exposure to Indigenous knowledge equips students to engage thoughtfully with cultural diversity, preparing them for a more inclusive future in architectural and design practice. When we zoom out and consider the broader context, it's clear that systematic changes are essential for this work to thrive. The University of Newcastle has a strong reputation in Indigenous higher education, and its Care for Country roadmap, our Care for Country roadmap within our own school, provides a valuable framework for initiatives like my own. However, the responsibility doesn't end there. Decolonising architectural education requires systematic support. Universities must create structures that facilitate relational learning, recognising the unique contribution of Indigenous knowledge systems. They also need to be understanding of minimising community burden. This includes funding and resources to ensure that partnerships with Indigenous communities are respectful and sustainable, and a commitment to ongoing learning. As educators, we must model ethical practices, open acknowledgement of positionalities, and continually adapt to the needs of our students and our Indigenous communities. This process is ongoing. It challenges us to rethink entrenched colonial paradigms and embrace new ways of learning and teaching. While the road's not easy, the outcomes remind us of the transformative potential of this work. In closing, I want to emphasise that Indigenising architectural education is more than a project. It's a journey of listening, learning and adapting. Through our work in Architecture Studio One, we aim to inspire a new generation of architects who see design as a tool for reconciliation and cultural understanding. We hope they carry forward the principles of care for country into their professional lives, creating designs that honour the land, its history and its people. While the challenges are significant, the rewards are even greater. This work has taught us the importance of humility, reflexivity, and collaboration. Thank you for your time, for engaging in this important conversation, and I hope this inspires you to decolonise some of your teaching practices. Thank you.